Welcome to Money Muscle Mindset, the podcast designed to motivate and educate you on your journey to financial and fitness success and to develop the mentality needed to achieve your goals. I'm Zay Molina, guys, and in this episode, we're going to talk about 4 myths about productivity that we may be believing that may be holding us back, right? When it comes to success, guys, we got to find the things that are going to help us be successful. And by believing things like these myths that we're going to talk about here today, they may be kind of, demotivating and kind of giving us, false beliefs that essentially are hurting our success, right? So let's dive a little deeper into these myths and talk about, why they're myths and how we can avoid them to be able to find the right things and the right techniques that are going to help us achieve our goals, right? So myth number 1, guys, multitasking means more productivity. Right? So many people say, oh, I'm so good at multitasking. I get this stuff done. And so many people believe that if they can't multitask, they're not being as efficient. They're not being as productive as they can be. Right? And I'm here to tell you guys that multitasking is a myth. Right? Us as human beings, we cannot get 2 things done at once, right? Essentially, when we multitask, what we're actually doing, what our brain is doing, is essentially switching from one task to the other rapidly, right? Let's say we're working on an email and a presentation at the same time, right? If I'm working on this email and I'm typing all this kind of stuff, but then I need to come over and work on this presentation now, I'm essentially switching from one task to the other. Yes, I may have them both open on 2 different screens and I'm kind of working on them at the same time, but I'm not really working on them at the same time. What I'm doing is simply shifting focus from one to the other, right? And that is essentially what we call multitasking, right? But what we realize is that once we kind of shift focus back and forth between 2 different tasks, guys, we're actually losing efficiency. We're not working on the tasks to their highest ability. We're not getting them done to the highest ability that we can actually get them done, right? And there was actually a study in 2009 by Stanford University where they found that by multitasking, going back and forth between products, actually reduces the required cognitive control that's needed to effectively get each task done. Right. So by going back and forth between that email and that presentation, maybe this email, I'm typing it up and I'm getting all this stuff down, but then I go to the presentation and maybe my mind is still focused on that email where I start typing some stuff for the presentation that has to do with the email, but has nothing to do with the presentation. Right. And so by doing that, I'm making mistakes, I'm making errors, I'm losing focus because I'm focused on 2 things at once, and it may be hurting how that presentation or how that email is coming out, right? I know for me, personally, when I'm working on emails or even like social media posts, sometimes I'll have them as the same topic, I'm working on the same things, but I need to word them differently to kind of hit my audience a little bit different, right? In an email, it's a little bit more direct, it's going directly to the person. Social media post is going to be on my page that people are going to scroll by and kind of see. So I know I need to word them a little bit differently. And if I'm working on them at the same time, I may use wording in the post versus the email that may not attract my audience correctly, right? So what I do is I try to get my email done first and then go into my social media post or vice versa, right? I'm focusing on that. Hey, this post needs this content. I'm getting this done. Once that's done, I can then move on to the next task. And that's kind of what we need to do, right? And a great thing that I kind of learned from another podcast, the Mindset Mentor by Rob Dial Jr., give them a shout out. It's a phenomenal podcast. What I learned from him is what he talks about is when we have a lot of tasks that we need to get done, right? Essentially, take a sticky note, take a piece of paper, write down all the things that you need to get done, okay? Then once you have that list, go in and start numbering them. What's the most important thing that needs to get done right now? Number 1 through 5, 1 through 10, whatever, number of items you have on your list. And then all you're going to do is take another sticky note, another piece of paper, or at least just, know the numbers that you have on your tasks. And what you're going to do is you're going to start with number 1. Dive all in on the number 1 task, right? Get it done. And then you can move to number 2, right? But you don't touch any of the other tasks until you're done with number 1. Once you're done there, jump to number 2. Once you're done with number 2, go to number 3, right? And by finishing one task at a time, you're starting with number 1, the most important one of the day. You're able to go all in, get it done productively and efficiently, and then you're able to move on to the next task without having to go back and forth, right? You're able to more efficiently get that done versus, kind of going back and forth, right? And a fitness example is thinking about, let's say you're doing, leg extensions for your quads and bicep curls, obviously for your biceps, right? Let's say I'm sitting in that leg extension machine and I'm kicking out my legs, but I'm also curling some dumbbells, right? Yes, I can probably do that at the same time, right? I can probably kick my legs out and curl my arms, but after a few reps, what's going to happen? Probably going to get a little fatigued in our legs, a little bit fatigued in our arms, where we may end up start focusing on the fatigue, let's say in our quads, right? We start feeling that burn where now we're trying to kick out that weight. And now what happens to my arms? My arms may be stationary where I'm focused on the quad pain and I'm forgetting about my arms. And then I'm like, oh, I need to start curling. So I start curling and then my arms start burning. Maybe I'm focusing on now the bicep pain, the bicep burning, and my legs stop kicking out. Right. And so by doing that, yes, I was able to, at least maybe for a little while, kick out my legs, and curl my arms, right? But essentially, I started to lose the the effectiveness of both workouts, right? Because now I'm focusing on one or the other, and I'm stopping, and it's not being done as efficiently as possible. This is why we split up our days, right? This is why we don't do full body workouts every single day, trying to get everything done all at once, right? We simply take breaks. We do leg day, maybe do arm days, or maybe we do a pull day, push day, whatever it may be. But we break it up, right? Because we're able to get a more efficient workout by focusing on one or a few muscles per day and not doing it at the same time. Yes, we can do supersets where maybe we do some bicep curls and then we do some tricep pull downs, right? But we're going back, finishing one task first, one exercise first, then we're moving on to the next one, right? And so you guys understand that we're not doing them at the exact same time. We're not multitasking, right? Where we're going is doing one exercise, moving on to the next one. We're focusing on our email before our social media posts, whatever it may be, guys. This is how we can effectively get stuff done without having to believe the myth that we need to be multitasking. Okay, so hopefully that helps you guys with myth number one, understanding that we don't need to be trying to multitask when literally our brains cannot necessarily focus on two things at once. They essentially just jump back and forth rapidly between two tasks. Okay, so once again, guys, that is myth number one. Myth number two is you need to be constantly busy to be productive. Okay, you need to constantly be putting in more hours to get the most out of everything that you need to do. Now, to some degree, yes, you got to put in the work. You got to, put in more time, more practice, all this kind of stuff to get better and you see more results, right? However, just like we talked about last episode, guys, you need some rest. You need recovery, right? Take some breaks, right? Because if we're constantly putting in work, we're constantly going, we're going to get burnouts. We could potentially overtrain in the gym, right? We could potentially just overdo things where, again, we're not effectively getting things done. We start to lose that efficiency that we're doing by simply working over and over. And there was actually a study done in 2018 by the Business Roundtable where they essentially found out, guys, that more people that are putting in more hours at work are essentially losing the efficiency of the work that they're putting in, right? So for example, normal work week is 40 hours a week, right? By these people going up to 50 hours per week, they've noticed that there was a significant drop off in the extra hours and the extra time that they put in on the work that they were doing, right? And then by the time they jumped up to 60 hours per week, there was an effect, so much of a drop off, right? That essentially that the productivity of their work actually dropped as if they added no hours whatsoever, right? And it was a typically normal 40-hour work week, right? So what I'm trying to say, guys, is by adding more hours doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be more productive. Doesn't mean you're going to be getting more efficiency done, right? You're not essentially going to be putting in more work that's going to equate to more quality work, right? The quality of your work is going to go down. And think about this, when you're at the gym and you're constantly working out a muscle, what's going to happen? You get fatigued, you get tired. This is why we take breaks. This is why we take rests, right? Let's say, for example, we're curling a barbell, right? If I'm curling a barbell, my muscle is going to get tired. My bicep is going to get fatigued. And by the time I'm at 10, 12, maybe 15 reps, I start to feel that burn. And now I'm starting to curl this barbell and I'm starting to use momentum. I'm starting to bring in other muscles to help me get the weight up. Why? I'm getting tired. I'm getting fatigued, right? And so by having this, guys, we understand that at some point I need to take a break. I need to stop because now I'm, curling this barbell. Yes, I may be getting the weight up, but I'm using my legs, I'm using my back, I'm using my shoulders to get this weight up. And it's not as effective as if I took a break, took some rest, drank some water, and then started a new set again, working and targeting that muscle correctly, right? Same thing when it comes to, let's say we're taking a look at the charts, right? And we're traders, right? If I'm looking at the charts and I'm, trying to go through on my entire watch list and I keep going through it over and over and over again, well, essentially I may be making mistakes because I'm constantly looking at these charts. I'm looking at the pairs. I'm overanalyzing. I may essentially make some silly mistakes just because I'm constantly looking at it over and over, right? Take a break, walk away, come back later on, and then kind of, reanalyze, right? Take a moment to just regather yourself before diving back into the charts or whatever we're trying to do, right? Just understanding that breaks are essential, guys, just like we talked about last week, right? We understand that if we constantly go, we're going to burn out, right? We may start, yes, we're putting in more hours, right? We're giving up sleep. We're doing all this kind of stuff, but it's not quality work, right? If we just took the time to take a break, maybe it's a few minutes, maybe it's a few hours, maybe it's a few days, right? But once we understand that when we come back to work, we're able to put in more productive work, more quality work, right? This is why, businesses get paid time off. That's why businesses allow you to go on vacation. Why? Because once you go on vacation, you're able to reset, take a break. Once you come back, you're able to start producing at a higher level, right? And so that's the idea behind, this myth that, you need to be constantly busy to be productive is not necessarily true, guys. Give yourself some time, take some breaks, and then get back at it once you've rested, once you've recovered. Okay, so that is myth number 2. Myth number 3, guys, the early bird gets the worm, right? And so when it comes to this phrase, this, quote, yes, it can be true in some degrees, right? In some, aspects of life, right? But the way I want to talk about it today in this myth, guys, is that morning people essentially get more done than everyone else. The earlier you wake up, the more work you're going to get done, and you're the further ahead from everyone else you're going to be. And essentially, guys, that's not always the case, right? That's not necessarily true. Just because you wake up early does not mean you're beating everybody else. Just like we talked about. Maybe you stayed up late and now you're waking up early, but you're half asleep trying to do some work, trying to go to the gym, right? How effective is that workout going to be? How effective is the work that you're doing going to actually turn out, right? If you're half asleep, you're not really awake, you may not be getting a whole lot done, right? And what research has kind of seen is that some people are just natural born early birds. Some people are night owls. Some people are more productive during the middle of the day, right? And so the key, guys, is to not necessarily wake up early. Waking up early does not necessarily mean you're going to get more done than everybody else, but understanding what are your most productive hours throughout the day, right? Maybe you are an early bird. Maybe waking up early, you're ready to go, you're ready to attack the day, get some stuff done, and then by the end of the day, you can, chill and do whatever you want to do, right? Maybe it takes you a few hours to actually get awake and get ready and get going in the day, and then you're going to be able to attack your work. Maybe, throughout the whole day in the morning and stuff, you just can't get a whole lot done. But then in the evening, you get like a second wind and you're able to start getting stuff done, right? You got to find the best hours for you to say, hey, this is the time that I'm going to put into my business. This is the time I'm going to put into my workout, right? And I need to find that time that's going to be the most productive for me, right? And that's what's going to help us be successful, right? For me, for example, guys, I don't wake up at 4 or 5 a.m., right? I know my dad does. My dad wakes up at 4 a.m. He's ready to start the day. That's not me. I like to wake up closer to like 7 or maybe even 8 a.m. Sometimes I'll wake up at 6, but for the most part, 7 or 8 a.m. And that doesn't mean I'm ready, jumping out of bed, ready to go, right? For me, I'm not really ready to start working until about 9 a.m. By 9 a.m., I'm finally awake. I'm ready to go. I'm, starting my day. And between the hours about 9 and 12, maybe even up to 1, I feel productive. I feel like I can get my best work done between those hours. And then by about 1 o'clock, I start to feel tired. I start to get fatigued. I start feeling like I need a nap or maybe an energy drink or some kind of caffeine, right? To kind of wake me back up. So during those hours between maybe 1 and like 5 p.m., I'm not really trying to get the most productive stuff done during that time, right? That's just for me. I'm kind of just not super awake and super effective during those hours, right? But then after about 5 p.m., maybe closer to like 6 p.m. or so, I kind of get that second wind that allows me to kind of push through and can, get more work done during that time between like 6 and maybe 9 or 10 p.m., right? But during those hours, essentially when I record my podcast episodes, or I like to trade during those hours right before London session, right? And those hours I feel productive, but still not as productive as I do between the hours of like 9 and 1, right? So for me, again, between the hours of like 9 and 12, 9 and 1, I'm the most productive. And then between like 6 and 10 p.m., maybe even 5 to 10 p.m., I feel a little bit more productive. I can get more work done during those hours, right? So throughout the day, I'm not constantly working and trying to get stuff done because I know I have that window in the middle of the day where I feel a little bit more fatigued. So during that window, I feel like I can get a little bit, maybe some other stuff done, like, laundry, some household chores, whatever it may be, right? But I'm not doing my most productive stuff, the most important stuff that I need to get done during those times. I'm doing it either between 9 and 12 mainly, right? Or sometimes later in the evening, right? And that's the key for us to, as individuals, we got to, kind of do our own research and see, when do I feel the most energized? When do I feel like I can get the most done throughout the day? And that's the key for us to, understand this rather than, saying we have to wake up early to get stuff done. That's not really the case, guys. We got to find our most productive hours to help us be successful, right? Some people love working out early in the morning. Some people love working out right after, work or whatever it may be, right? Find those hours, find that time for you that's going to help you be most productive, okay? So that is myth number 3, guys. And last but not least, guys, myth number 4, success requires constant motivation. Okay. Success requires constant motivation. And understanding this, I feel like most of us understand that motivation is fleeting, right? It's not something that sticks with us every single day. We're constantly motivated. We're ready to go, right? Because if that was the case, everything would be easy, right? If we were constantly motivated, we would get everything done all the time, right? We understand that motivation, yes, we want it. We need it. It helps us, but it's fleeting. It's not always there. And so what's going to push us to get the things done that we need to get done, even when we don't have motivation? And that comes back to what we talked about in another episode, guys, was discipline. Discipline, consistency, building those habits. That's what's going to push us to continue to do the things that we don't want to do when motivation isn't there. How can we get things done? Having that discipline, right? Understanding that, yes, I need to go to the gym today. I told myself I was going to go. I'm tired. I'm really exhausted. I don't want to go to the gym right now. Well, understanding when we feel like that, what's going to push us? Well, our goals, our why. Why do we want to go to the gym? Why do we want to get in better shape? We understand that we need to have that discipline. We need to have something that's going to push us forward, that's going to get us to the gym, right? Once we get there, we can have our workout and we feel a lot better afterwards, right? So understanding that motivation is not always going to be there, but having that discipline is going to help us, push through that and get to the gym, or, maybe we want to get stuff done, right? For, our business, right? I don't want to write this email. I don't want to write this social media post, right? But I need to have that discipline to just do it, right? I understand that I'm not going to always be motivated, right? But I got to have that discipline to keep going, right? So we don't need constant motivation to get things done, right? And there's actually been research done that long-term success isn't, based and tied to motivation, right? It's actually tied to the habits that we develop over time, right? And that just makes sense, right? Understanding that, hey, you know what, my long-term success, I'm trying to lose this amount of weight, I'm trying to gain this amount of muscle. Well, I understand that it's not about me being motivated and going to the gym only when I'm motivated. It's about going consistently, even when I don't feel like it. Going to the gym 4 or 5 days a week, for the last few years has helped me be in the shape that I want to be in, right? Or let's say, my finances, right? Doing the things that I want to do for my business has helped me come to this point 10 years later that I'm actually now, I completely quit my job. I'm doing this full time now, and I'm having success because of the last 10 years doing the things that I didn't want to do, but I showed up and I built those habits to, create the life that I have now. And that's the idea, guys. It's not always about motivation, but having that discipline to continue to keep going. So with that being said, guys, those are the 4 myths about productivity that may be holding you back from trying to get the things done that need to get done, guys, but just understanding that these are just myths, okay? Remember, myth number 1 is multitasking means more productivity. Remember, we don't actually multitask. If we simply go back and forth between 2 tasks, we don't need to be multitaskers. Myth number 2, you don't need to constantly be busy to be productive, right? Take those rests, guys. Take some breaks to be more productive. Okay. Myth number 3, the early bird gets the worm. Remember, you don't have to wake up early to be more successful. Find the hours that work best for you. And then number 4, guys, success does not require constant motivation. It requires discipline. It requires consistency, building those habits for you to be successful. So with that being said, guys, that's what I got for you guys in this episode here today. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'm going to leave you guys as I always do. Remember, success isn't just about the money you make or the muscles you build. It's also about the mindset you develop along the way. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode of Money Muscle Mindset.